All right, welcome everybody. This will be, I guess, Ramble video 4 on my channel. This should be, I want to say, number 6 or so for my guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
No, so it depends on when you start it because I made Rambles back in what 2018, and
Hmm.
that was like season one, right? And then I started, I guess, doing sporadic ones. I did like an autumn one, a 2019 one, and then a 2021 recently. So, God, it's like number 20 or something. But I lost count pretty much because I used to do it monthly, and then it just got boring. So there you go. But hey guys, I'm Vatti. I'm an Ironman in this Bronze Star, and yeah, I'm here to do a ramble with Duke. I was been very inspired by his rambles recently, so I just reached out and thought, yeah, let's do a ramble.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise to, honestly, a little bit flattering. I remember watching Vatti's videos back when I was like a 1300 total Ironman. Listening to his rambles back like when I would listen to him, I'd listen to Lelador. I've been really some pleasantly surprised to see the recent revival in the the Iron Man ramble scene. I guess you could say
Yeah,
it's been good. People seem to enjoy it too. I've been Seems like there's been a good bit of feedback from the community. So yeah, keep the
no,
momentum going.
yeah, because I mean, with the game mode, right? You need something to be able to pass the time with. Sometimes there are just things that you have to do which give time or ticks to be able just to be distracted by something else. And I think there's a long tradition in the high level community, and more specifically the Ironman community, of like talking about your account, but not having it be like a YouTube series.
Hmm.
Like Lelador kind of gave a window into what's on your account and what's your thinking on where you're going at the moment because with the restrictions of the game mode, it gives you room to be able to plan and make a route or a route for what you're trying to do, and everyone's is going to be different depending on their goals or what they think is the most or the best way to do things. So getting an insight into that mindset is also important. But I think specifically for Ironman 2 is just people want to see their banks because our banks are like, if you really deep it, our banks are absolutely ridiculous. Like for the like tiny amounts of um, items that we have, like the little unique things, but also because we gathered it all ourselves. So people are just interested in that, and I think other Ironmen, I mean, that appeals to them as a game mode, so they just kind of see what other people are doing. I mean, I get a kick out. I get a kick out of looking at other people, like what are they doing, what are their goals, how are they going about doing things, and I also like the mysteriousness of like Dids or Hygo. It's like, what's their bank like? Or every time Hygo posts like a video in Skilling Discord, I'm like, and he flashes up his bank for like a bit. I was like, oh, what's going on? Or like, how much have you done progress on your account? You
Yeah,
know?
I've definitely paused the Higer's like 20-second streamable clips, being like, "Damn, does he have like 8 tourmaline cores or what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?"
yeah, exactly. And just like, but so like every because it gives you a story of what that account's been through, which legitimately can't be done for a main. So with Ironman, seeing their progress is adds an extra. I mean, just an extra lot of credibility to what they're doing. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's one of the appeals to it. What was your initial appeal in Lelador's videos and my videos back way back when?
Well, back when I was watching them as a noob, I like there wasn't any sort of there were guides out there. There were definitely Iron Man guides out there, but it seemed like the way that end game Iron Men were approaching the game, like the things they cared about, like specifically talking about like Zulra and the routing around that, was like that was a completely separate game mode, in my opinion, from like what like casual mid game Iron Men were doing. So I've loved kind of getting that peek at like, oh, this is like what the end game looks like. This is what the high level players care about. This is what they're tracking. This is the kind of changes to the game that are impacting their play style. Like, I mean, at that point, I think I was like doing my homework and like AFKing Ice Warriors or something for medium clue
Right.
scrolls. So like my perspective on the game, I didn't have one. So I found the peek behind the curtain fascinating. I will say, additionally though, as time goes on, even as recently as I think like 2 months ago, I went back and listened to all of the Iron Man podcasts that Lelador had on his channel. I don't think he
Yeah,
has all of them. I think he has like 4 of them still.
I have two of them on my channel.
Oh, dude, is that where the other ones
Yeah,
are? I might go back and listen to those too.
I think I have five and six.
Okay.
I know I have 6 for sure. So
Yeah.
I checked my channel this morning. So yeah, those are those. That's where those are. Because then you get Parker, Aloe, Cub, me, Tyler. There's some like rare Tyler footage there of just
Yeah.
like us talking about it. Yeah. So no, that's really cool to hear. Like, because I was inspired by Ledador. Like, if you didn't know, like Ledador got me into high level Ironman.
I did not know that.
I think, yeah. So I guess the story about how I got into efficiency in general with the account. I made an account inspired by the Vatti series, or just his Ironman.
Hmm.
Not on One Man Army specifically, but like just in the Ironman mode in general. Because when the server launched, I started a main, and I just thought, no, this is not what I'm into at the moment. Plus, I was playing World of Warcraft high level anyway, so I didn't really have time to invest into it. But then Ironman mode was a thing, and I can't remember exactly when I started, but this account, I remember January 2017 being like a significant date for like the start of the account. So like that's, I mean, I'll have to go check it, but that's when I think I started. Anyway, I think I just got a 99 Hunter, and it was just when Monkey Madness 2 was released. So like the day of, essentially, I did the quest, and then I was streaming myself chinning in the tunnels. So I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And I was like, I knew that I would save my chins for the tunnel back before it was released, right? And
Hmm.
then I had like three viewers or something. And Ledador came into my stream and like, yo, this is cool. You should do this, or like put this on this. And I was like, okay, that's cool, thanks. And I had no idea who he was really. I was like, okay, cool, thanks, mate. But then we just got chatting a bit more, and he said, hey, we're in this CC. You should come join. It was Erudite, and rest is history, I guess.
That's really cool.
So
I did
so
not know that.
yeah, so like going from that being at that level, I don't even know where I'd end up on this account if it weren't for being around like-minded individuals. I feel like it's really important for Ironman in particular. Just kind of being, even though it is a single player game mode, like I see my account as like a save file on an RPG, right? But other people are NPCs, but there's like a progress trackers and things, and things. So even though it's a single player game mode, there are other people also playing the game. So you'd be on like a forum talking to people, like, oh, you play it this way, or you've done this before this, or what motivated you to do that instead of this. I feel like it's very important for Ironman, whereas mains it's just a bit solved in my mind. Like there are strict ways of doing things. Even though it's getting to that point of Ironman now, there's still a lot of room for customization with how interlinked the skills are. So that's where my inspiration really came from.
That's really cool. I wish, honestly, one of my biggest regrets is that I was not. I think I was playing at the time while Eldor was active, but I wasn't involved with the higher level Iron Man community at all to really get to interact with him much. It seems like everybody who did interact with him much has nothing but positive things to say. So,
Yeah,
I
and he still keeps up, and he'll probably watch this. So, what's up, man?
oh yeah, if you're
Yeah,
listening,
for
well,
sure.
Eldor, what's good, man? Come back to the game.
Yeah. He'll never do that, but yeah, there's just like old community figures and the game mode with a bunch of history. Because I mean, even back then as well, right? Because you mentioned this around having Zora being the linchpin of maxing, right? Like
Hmm.
you had to have company with you, or competition was good, because otherwise, man, it was just a big grind. Like I did Zora for my pure essence. Like that's around when I max. I think I was like 50th to max or something. So that's when around I did it. And yeah, just grinding out all that Zora, you kind of needed someone to keep in contact, or like just to have a general idea of where everyone was at, because it hadn't really been done before. Like there were like only a handful of us who had maxed and just maxed, and then going beyond that, no one had run like a 10 under 10-second 100 meter, and then
Hmm.
once it happens, loads of people start doing it. So like no one really knows what the future looks like, what the lengths of the game mode can really get to. So we're all just kind of exploring it and saying, okay, who's going to push it? And Leather was really one of the first people in that. But then when Tyler came through, and he just like, I think, really brought in the always being online, always nightmare zoning, always making sure you're getting the most efficient ways possible. I feel like that as soon as that started, that really inspired me to go as hard as possible, and to really take everything I do in a serious way with the game, and that's kind of led to where I am now. So yeah, it's been a long journey, and I'm quite happy to see where the game mode is at the moment. I'm sure we'll be talking about a couple of things that may be happening in the game mode to change it fundamentally. But we've been through big shifts in the game mode, from Zora going from the linchpin to Vorkath, from new methods coming out, which kind of combine things and change the order of doing things. But ultimately, it's kind of stayed the same. Of you can't trade, so just good luck, and that appeals to a certain mindset of people, and yeah, I'm one of them, so it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, I guess it's fitting for a Ramble video to already be off topic just in the intro, but I'm gonna make one more point on this before we get to our actual topics. One thing I love as well about being able to go back and listen to those old videos is that I think like at the time, if you watch this, like if you're watching this Ramble like in the first few weeks where it comes out, like Vatti and I are gonna be talking about the game as it is now, things we care about the game now. But I think it's I don't know. I personally love listening to stuff from like 3 or 4 years ago where people are talking about like what mattered to them at that point, and like listening to people talk about stuff like the Zol rerouting and like listening like to them talk about like the Fossil Island update when it comes out. Like it's
Hmm.
such a cool like time capsule of a mindset that you really can't recapture. Like you can go back and look at like what was the efficient meta in 2015 for something, and like somebody will be like, oh, it was this, and you can be like, oh, I guess you killed like green dragons, or oh, you killed wyverns for prayer or whatever. But like listening to somebody actually talk about that and like talk about their experience going through it and all of that, like it just gives you so much deeper of a look into the history of the game mode than like a list of previous metas ever could.
Or like a guide or something,
Yeah, exactly.
because you're talking to the people who actually went through it.
Mhm.
So you get a general. Like I remember back in the day when people were talking about skeletal wyverns for 99 prayer before Zora,
Mhm.
and then we did Green Dragons when the Diary came out, and then that was even before the Wilderness altar, right? So we still used our POH altar. So it's just like it's shit like that which really makes you think, and it gives you a sense of perspective as well, like how little we really knew how much things would change the game. Like Fossil Island, right? Like that update with giant seaweed alone just completely changed everything we did with crafting. Like we would like a lot of our crafting was centered around this was like after Fossil Island, but before Vorkath was like just afterward, because I remember Dragon Slayer 2 having a Fossil Island thing in it. So we
Mhm.
had no idea where else like the crafting would go. And it was just like, oh, it's all glassmaking now because of the seaweed. Then we still have to like hop for charters. So this was before Sandstone. And we didn't really understand where things were going. So yeah, it is good to go back and just see not only for the fun of it and like what we were talking about back in the day, but how little we really know, and kind of humble us to when we're talking about future updates and where the game's going to go. Just realize how wrong we were back then. I mean, sometimes if you look to some of my older rambles, people have said this to me before. Like I made like really prescient predictions on where the game mode was going, like forecast stuff or whatever. But I mean, that was just one off compared to the rest of the stuff I was talking about, what was going through my mind at the time. So yeah, it really reminds me to always not be surprised or take into consideration what's going on in the game. So
Absolutely. Well, I guess
yeah,
hey,
yeah, for sure.
before we jump into the list, I guess real quickly, we could just both say, I guess like what's going on? What are you working on in game right now? What's going on IRL when you're recording this?
So currently I'm running RD roofs just for something to do FK. This is always something I used to do during rambles anyway, or just like on podcast. So it's kind of nostalgic for me. But it's also I've had to unplug my keyboard to put my Blue Yeti in. So again,
Oh,
so I can't have my keyboard, otherwise I'll be making planks or something.
yeah.
But right now, my goal currently is to get 20 mil fishing. I'm about 900k away, and what I've been doing for that is just on my phone, just five ticking and dropping it, checking it whenever I can.
Five.
So that's like going up 100k a day.
I love five.
Uh,
Five tick on the phone is fantastic.
it's lovely. Like I feel like I'd get 200 mil fishing just because of the mobile client. Like a tangent, but I don't use alts. I don't do NMZ.
Hmm.
It just never appealed to me as a playstyle. Because back when people were using like TeamViewer, that's what I used back in World of Warcraft. But like Google Play or whatever, yeah, Chrome desktop. That was it.
Yeah.
Back when people were using that, people had their computers on all the time, and I didn't want to do that. Like one, I couldn't do that. Like have my computer on all the time. So I just didn't have that on my phone. So I never really got into the spirit of like melee, like getting my melee XP from Nightmares. But it just never really appealed to me, like setting it up and making sure you're in, and then having to check it. It's like I want to be able to put the game down when I want to, and never be like on all the time.
Hmm.
So that was really important to me. And then with alting, again, it's just the logistics of playing two accounts at the same time. I just can't do it. My brain just doesn't want to, because I see this as fundamentally a single player experience for me. of like I remember like playing old Final Fantasy games and stuff. And just going through like the single player campaign. It's not like you'd have two controllers unless you're playing GoldenEye for speedruns or something. So um, yeah, it's just not what I'm going through. So with the mobile client, I feel like a lot of things are unlocked for me because the way it works on my phone, I can just like turn it on and I'm still logged in and I'm still fishing in inventory. And that's pretty much unlocked like 200 mil fishing for me. I feel like I can get that very easily now.
I mean,
So that
honestly, it's not unrealistic. I mean, assuming like you understand that you're going to be working your job, you're going to be at your desk for the foreseeable future, like the coming years. I mean,
exactly.
yeah, why is it not realistic? It's going to be a shit ton of hours, but I mean, like what
Yeah,
else are you going to do on the phone if you have the opportunity to? It's definitely realistic.
it's like I wouldn't be playing anyway. So it's adding gains to the account now, which wouldn't have been there anyway. Which comes into the mindset of like how I treat the my goals now, which we'll get into soon.
Yeah.
But just to wrap that point up, yeah, doing 20 mil fishing, and then after that, I'll probably plank all my logs, buy all the gold ore I need for 20 mil construction and smithing, and then that'll give me 20 mil base. And then I'm pretty inspired to just dump all my construction. I've got about 40 mil
Oh,
to
nice.
construction, so I might just dump all that and see how it goes. And then from there, probably 50 mil Slayer because I've got everything I need to do that without feeling like I'm feeling guilty about not having the best gear. So there's that. And then after that, I'm not really sure. Might just do my virtual level goal again,
Hmm.
where I like train the lowest to the next virtual level skill just to keep things swapped up and not have to stick to anything. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. What are you doing at the moment?
I'm just making some wines at the Inferno Bank. I got back from vacation. I was gone for about 2 weeks. I want to say I was home. I visited my family. Got to see them. My siblings were home, so that was fortunate. Then I went and visited a couple friends. Don't worry, it was a small group. We stayed inside. Weren't violating any of the lockdown protocols. But yeah, I was gone for about 2 weeks. Basically took a full break from the game. Didn't do anything on my phone. I think I logged
Cool.
in for like 5 minutes or something once because I was sitting on the couch and really bored. But yeah, had a nice little decompress from the game. I got back Saturday, and since then I've been doing the Inferno runs. Been trying to do a couple good runs a day. I'm about maybe a dozen or so runs in. Have a couple Zucks under the belt. None all that close yet. I think I've made it to healers twice. Never to post healers set. So getting relatively close. Still motivated to do it. So hopefully this week or so I'll wrap it up. I told myself I'm not leaving this area till I get it, so
I
I'm
did
doing
that. I
wines at
did
the
that.
bank. Yeah, I know you mentioned that as well. It sounds like a good idea. It's actually where I kind of got the idea from.
Yeah, just you don't want to be in a position to give yourself the excuse to not do it because it's that type of grind, right? So
Yeah.
like I actually want to touch on the like you me recently doing Inferno and then you going for it in line with our account goals. So like what motivated you to go for the Inferno, even though in the grand scheme of things it's not quote unquote efficient to do.
Oh yeah, well I guess yeah, it's definitely not efficient to do. I mean, I wouldn't argue that. I mean, I've probably sunk already probably between 30 and 40 hours into this. Probably
Yeah.
have another 30 or 40 to go. I'm not going to get those 80 hours back in one higher Lance max hit. So, I guess I mean there's the aspect of the challenge to it, but my answer is probably going to be different than yours, which is honestly recently my brother got into the game.
Oh,
He had never played RuneScape before. My younger brother, he's been playing for a little over a year now, and he's been going pretty hard on the PVM. He's had a lot of time with his school being remote. He's been doing
mm,
like he did Inferno. He's working on solo Tob right now. He's been doing like a shit ton of like Tob speedrun stuff. So I kind of had the mindset that like should I find myself in the future with stuff like school taking up a lot of my time, it'd be nice to have some decent PVM gear on the account that like I can hop on and do some like Tob with the boys for a little while or something like to like theoretically play a slightly more casual like maybe PVM or completionist mindset in the future. Definitely not resigned to that yet, but I also like I'm not gonna show up to Tob with my whip and fire cape and like no chambers items. So kind of just wanted to check a little bit of that off. I'm kind of at a point right now where I'm moving in a few weeks, so I have a lot of shit going on with getting ready for the move. So I don't have like hours and hours on end to spend sitting working on a skilling goal. So I figured
Mm.
do something where I can like hop on and focus hard on it for a few hours and then hop off. It seems like the time to do it.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to have that discussion with, I guess, if we're, other people are watching this and they're all high level Ironman. Most of the people I know who have Inferno kits, I was probably one of the last people I know who got one. But for those of you who don't, what would you say? Um, like, what are reasons for Ironman to go get the Inferno kit? Like, apart from the max hit or the challenge, like what other reasons would you say? Like, yeah, this is a worthwhile goal to attain to. I mean, I could say first off,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think it was just an important box to tick on an Ironman of like ending the like PVM like road you can go down. I see the Inferno Cape as like the logical like end of most like realistic PVM goals for people. I don't see like a giant corp grind as realistic. I see like completion of tier B, I guess, but that's not really a solo thing unless you like solo it. But then you would have to do tier B to do that. With Cox, it's just it is what it is. But with Inferno, I feel like in terms of a solo challenge where it's all down to you, it really encompasses in a PVM way what the game can offer for like a solo player. Outside of like it's like actual solo content for solo for to be completed by yourself. Cox's raids are raids, they're meant to be in groups as by design. But with this one, it's like you're just by yourself. So I feel like for a sense of accomplishment, it's important to, if you are considering it, just going for it, because I certainly feel a lot more confident with how I operate in the game now. Just knowing that that was possible, and it was a big like mental hurdle for me to jump to actually say, actually no, this is something I can really get stuck into and learn. Like, was that something that you had a bit of issue with? Like, because I certainly did. Like wanting to actually learn how to do it in the first place.
Yeah, I guess I've kind of gone back and forth on it over maybe the last year or so. I've had points of motivation where I'm like, yeah, I could see myself going for that. Sounds kind of fun. I watched like one of my friends do it or something. I go watch them go through the learning process.
Mm.
So it's a little bit tough. I actually haven't talked to that many other high level irons who don't have it, in, like to get their motivation for not doing it. I know the biggest hurdles for me for going for it were, I guess, like point zero would be that I didn't think it was efficient. Right, I was trying to play in a macro play style. I was like, this
Mm-hmm.
isn't technically efficient to do, but my general dislike of PVM isn't related to. I actually enjoy like the PVM mechanics a lot. I enjoy learning content and stuff like that. I've always hated RNG goals on my account. I've always hated the sense of like I can log on, I can play for 12 hours, and if I don't get the drop, my account hasn't progressed.
Mm.
So I think that though doesn't apply to Inferno. It actually, even when like even just so far, obviously I don't have the cape yet, but I've been able to see myself progress like in my decision making through the waves, my reactions, my prayer flicking, stuff like that. So you do get to see a lot of progress in a relatively short amount of time, which I don't know. I find it very rewarding. I'm glad I'm doing it. I kind of wish I had done this earlier.
Yeah, me too.
So I think that was the biggest thing for it for me, where it's like if you're somebody who enjoys learning game mechanics, wants the challenge, something like that, it's not a huge amount of time. I think for most people, they get it somewhere between, well, like maybe 10 and 25 attempts, somewhere in that
Mm.
range for most people. Like it's not going to be a huge time investment. You're not going to spend weeks on end here for most people. So I don't know. I think it's
I,
a good way to break up a skilling grind as well. Like if you've been just going hard on skilling for a long time, like it's kind of been a breath of fresh air, really, getting to do something
totally.
like this.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it is a bit longer though than just the attempts itself. Like, there's the preparation of like getting, like, if you wanted to get in the SEB
Hmm.
or getting decks or these type of things. There's like certain stages to unlock.
That's
Like,
true.
and you do those things. I guess except for Sarah, unless you wanted the hilt that badly. But like you be doing these things anyway. So like the game in terms of like the progression nudges you towards, okay, well, you're kind of qualified to do the Infernal now. I feel like people who get T-bows early it's like, well, you've got no excuse now, that type of thing. But and if I was one of those, if I got a TiVo, I feel like that would be one of those things I couldn't resist. But at the same time, it's important to press yourself into it, because then you may resent like failing it loads and loads and loads. Especially because in the grand scheme of things, it's just not efficient to get like the extra max hit just isn't worth. So yeah, that's been my thoughts about it really. I'm really glad that that I got it. It's cool to hear that you're going for it too. And wish you luck on it. Like, what are some of the things you're having trouble with at the moment in Inferno?
Honestly, so far I've only died once at Triple Jads, and it was to the last one. So
Dude, me too.
yeah, when I was like healing up off the healers, missed a flick. So honestly, the waves have gotten fairly consistent for me. Obviously, I have more attempts than I have Zucks, but I don't know. I feel like I have some kind of mental block with a Jad on Zuck. I've tanked an ungodly number of Jad attacks on Zuck. Something about it is my brain isn't turning on. So I've been doing Scuffed Shield. If you're familiar with that, I'm doing
What's that?
it's the PVM nerds would have to give you a full explanation of it. Basically, I don't have an armadillo crossbow. I'm doing it with the dragon crossbow.
Okay.
So it has a shorter attack range. If you log out mid Zuck, like right at the beginning of the fight, after the shield starts moving, the the fight still plays out the same, but the actual region of tiles that the shield protects shifts backwards one. And I say backwards because the direction it shifts depends on which way it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it's moving to the east, it shifts one to the east, and when it's moving to the west, it shifts one to the west.
Yeah.
No, sorry, opposite. If it's moving east, it shifts one tile to the west, like it lags the safe zone. And
Yeah.
the reason you do that is that it lets you attack on rapid from the corners.
Oh, that would have been very useful to know.
Yeah, it's actually really helpful. If you're doing armadillo crossbow, it's not necessary because I think you can do rapid anyway.
You can do rapid on Zucker anywhere, but the Jad, I feel like I don't know which direction, but one of the sides you have to long range, and that was the one thing that messed me up for my first two attempts.
Yeah, it also.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. Like for my first attempt, my first ever Zucker, I like long ranged all of my Jad because I was like, I'm just too scared to go on rapid for any part of it at all. And then the second point, as I was going from rapid to long range, just trying to get used to it, I missed the flick. So yeah, that was always the bit that messed me up. So that would have been useful to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you also can blowpipe the major from the safe spot now.
Oh man,
with Scuff Shield, which
yeah.
is really nice. The thing that's getting with or messing with me though is that the shield itself is no longer like a good visual indicator.
Oh,
So
no.
like you have to like it's just like one more thing to have in mind. So it's just a trade off. So I feel like I've been getting. I don't know. I think I just need more attempts with it. I still feel like I'm getting a little bit flustered on the Jad.
Yeah.
So
it surprised me how much time you have to make that decision. Like three ticks is actually quite a long time on triple jab. I always thought it was a lot more instant than it seemed to be, because I've never actually done it. I just like seen people do it. It's like, oh, that's a really quick reaction time. But 1.8 seconds to people who know how to tick manipulate is pretty long. I'm able to like swap tabs on my second monitor and still keep a 3-tick cycle on fishing. Like, if you can do that, you can do triple jads, I think.
Yeah, I was always honestly the triple jads like before I ever did the Inferno, like that was the part where I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
that looks terrible. But yeah, like once you get into it, the flow is there. I mean, we all have the reaction time to do it. So yeah, for some reason though, I don't know why the Jad Suck is he's getting to me. Not good at that. So I also obviously like I keep a lot of friends in like the Ironman skilling community, specifically like through the Methods Discord. I have talked to quite a few people, but honestly, most of my closest, longest friends in this game are all PVMers. So I've kind of had the benefit of a lot of people who have done a lot of Inferno, like to kind of help me out. Like I've streamed a lot of my runs on Discord with them, like getting some pointers from them. So I don't think I'd be doing this if I didn't have like that group of support. So I won't name names, but like those of you out there who, if any of you guys listen to this and you've been helping me out with the Inferno, just know that it is appreciated. It makes it a lot easier.
Shout out to you lot. Sure. So yeah, get your Infernal capes, guys, because it's not as intimidating as it seems.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, if I can do it, I've done no PVM on this account other than a little bit of Sarah and the chambers I did 2 years ago. So if I can learn it, anybody can learn it.
100%. Speaking of Zuck stuff, the Boss Slayer blog came out.
Oh God, yeah. I just woke up to this, by the way, guys. Full disclosure, I've been awake for, well, I guess 45 minutes now. At the time we started the recording, it was a lot less than that. But yeah,
so I'm in the UK, Duke is in the US. So, and because I'm only in the office in the afternoons where I can actually record without my daughter screaming into my microphone, this is the only time we can actually record something. So Duke had to wake up at like 8 in the morning for me to record. So thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. But yeah, I woke up to the Slayer blog, so I like really briefly read over it on my phone in bed before we hopped on the mic. I think you've got a better look at it. Do you want to briefly summarize it before we start talking about it?
Yeah, sure. So with the idea is, and so I'm going to play like just kind of give a general summary, and then of how they present it, and then I'll give my actual. So it's a boss slayer master. So you go to, so it's kind of like Wildy Slayer, where it's a separate system, but it's also separate points as well. There's its own unique slayer like tree essentially. And hold on, I'm just scrolling. Requirements for it: 75 slayer to even start like using it, and 100 combat. And then pretty much every boss in the game you can get a slayer task for. And these tasks are expected to be like hours long tasks. So like you get like a big chunk of like that boss essentially, but with the Slayer perk.
I missed it. Was real quick. Are they capped at 35 like regular boss tasks, or are they going to be longer?
No. So it says task quantities. Currently tasked that boss monitors vary in time significantly. So Hellhounds can take 3 to 7 hours, whereas Hydra tasks can take a long time as well. And then the goal for the boss task to take 2 to 3 hours to complete. So I'm sure they'll have like a general idea how many kills you can do per hour, and then like get like an average of like 2.5 hours per task, right? So they've got every single Slayer monster there. So like obviously Serb and Kraken and whatever. And they've also got stuff like all the God Wars, Zora, Vorkath, all of them. But then they have exclusive tasks which the master can give, which is Corpse Beast but solo only, Nightmare solo only, Gauntlet, but then the Slayer Helm won't apply, which would only be so you get corrupted Gauntlet tasks, but no Slayer. So it's just an incentive to go do that. And then a whole raid, whole Chambers of Xeric task. So the Slayer Helm would benefit the entire raid.
God, I did not catch the Chambers bit. There's a lot of egregious stuff there, but is every Chambers speedrun up to this point just going to be moot? Are they just getting wiped? Jesus Christ.
So so it's a solo only. Obviously, it's a solo record. Obviously. But then the Slayer Helm benefits would affect the entire raid. So like we put this around in the skilling in the contributor chat for skilling Discord, and we're just like, and here's my thinking behind this. You would probably get to like 95 Slayer on like a new Ironman, and then just like bum rush this Slayer Master until you get everything you need, because this just like this makes the most popular content in the game, bossing and Slayer, combines the two and gives massive amounts of incentives and makes it way easier. Like, who was asking for this? I have no idea. Like what are your general impressions on this?
Okay, so a couple of things. My first impression when reading over this was, if this is the way they're going to add things to Slayer, I prefer this to things that are going to just straight up buff rates, like new dungeons, new barrage spots, things like that. Because I mean, obviously, widely accepted by the community that Slayer is obviously like it's the most updated skill. You wouldn't argue that, but most people would say it is the skill that's most likely to be devalued moving into the future. At least definitely for mains, definitely still true for irons, maybe not the most. I feel like Urbor kind of gets kicked in the balls every year or two as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like Slayer's going to get updates. I'm not going to stand in the way of that, but the part that I have the biggest issue with is the daily select your own task aspect of it, where things that, well, mostly because I worry that it's going to, at least for Ironman in particular, it's going to destroy the balance of choosing to invest your time into PVM that may not be strictly efficient. If you can now do everything in the game on task, not only get a faster rate, but also get Slayer XP out of it, like
Mm-hmm.
is all is most PVM just efficient like now? Like is it efficient to go do Bandos if I can get a task of 70 and go mage it or whatever? Like is it efficient to do chambers if I can get I mean I guess we don't know exactly how much Slayer XP you're going to get, but if I'm getting even like 30k Slayer XP an hour while I'm doing chambers, like is that now efficient to do? Like is
It
it
definitely,
I
it
it's just I
definitely,
don't
it
know where
definitely
the line
incentive.
is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It definitely incentivizes going for other drops. Like like because you'd get nothing else if you were just doing like any god wars really on off task, like Sopandos and Sarah. But the yeah, picking like it says here, picking a task. That sounds crazy powerful, right? That's because it is. It's like, well, why are you putting it in the game then? It's like they're trying to circumvent that, like you getting unlucky for certain tasks, or they're trying to circumvent tutorial skipping as well. Being for the amount of points that you can pay for, or like you get one free skip a day, so you just basically try and skip for that task per day. It's just first of all, it's an extra daily essentially.
It is a
Uh,
daily, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's yes. So that's people who hate daily. I'm not someone who hates dailies, but that's just another thing. I have to now fairy ring over to this guy and to try and get an orb task or whatever, so I can do my raid. Like it just adds extra barriers and incentive for things that don't need incentivizing anyway. And I feel like for us as a game mode, specifically with Ironman, really just changes like a lot of our Slayer. Like you'd have to do enough to get the GP needed, but then if you just go to like GP heavy bosses, like say you get like a Hydra task or a Zora task or a Vorkath task or whatever through this, then and you skip for it a day, that just kind of adds an extra bit. It's definitely a buff for sure for like adding like the daily boss task into it. There'll be like efficient ones to do, and if you get it on that day, you do it, and if you don't, then you just keep going. Um, keep going on your normal task list, but you also need to make room for that. So you might like get to like 180 mil Slayer at the end,
Mm-hmm.
having not done any of this, but then it'd be efficient for you for wait a day to get these certain tasks for the rest of the 20 mil XP. Otherwise, you'll be messing yourself up for the other skills that you need to do because Slayer is so integrated into everything else. So yeah, I just see this as a poorly thought out update, which didn't need incentivized, but will pass anyway and greatly affects the way we slay again because of the mainly because of the free reroll. Like if you have any PVM goals in mind at all, then it'd be stupid to even boss now because you know this is going to pass, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
may as well just wait for the buff from now until whenever it's implemented. So that puts like a delay on for months basically for loads of people. It's just very very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I don't yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't just straight up dislike dailies. I I keep up on my contracts for the most part. I do herb runs stuff like that. I don't mind. This seems like it has the potential to be an aspect of dailies kind of that's unprecedented in the game. If
Mm.
you're really locked out daily on these tasks, like if you're going for something like if you're going for Bandos completion or even something longer, so if you're going for like Chambers completion or you're going for like I want to code eye before I do Slay or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you're now going to do your daily pick your own task to go do 4 chambers, like now 2 hours of your day efficiently is doing your chambers task. So like for the next year, are you going to be like, oh, gotta log in, gotta do my daily chambers runs?
Yep.
Like, and that's like if you don't play a lot, like I mean, this is something you and I are going to get into further on, but you and I both obviously care about discussing efficient play styles for the game. We enjoy progressing our
Mm-hmm.
accounts in an efficient manner, but neither of us play huge hours.
Correct.
So for me, it does become a concern when the efficient daily activity list starts to encompass a majority of my daily playtime.
Yeah. This is creeping into where like you'll be playing for 24 hours and then the next 24 hours is going to be the same because the time just kind of re-rolls into like with the dailies we have at the moment. So that would be birdhouses, seaweed, contracts, and herb runs. Those are the dailies I do at least if I have seaweed scores, which I don't at the moment. I need to get those, but like I do the contracts, the herb run, and the birdhouse run, and then for the next hour I can do whatever I want, and I feel that's a perfectly good relationship with how I play the game, especially where I am in my life. Like it takes me what 15 minutes to do all of that. 10, like
Yeah,
I
it's
don't, I
not a
haven't
lot.
really counted, but it's not a lot. But with this, say like I'm going for a task and I get a chaos elemental task. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be bossing today. I'm going to be re-rolling this, and then I get say a Seracnus task. It's like I don't need a Seracnus. I need to wait tomorrow to do all the Zora or Barrows that I need, or if I'm looking for a Prim Crystal or whatever, like I'm going to have to do it through Seracnus because spending all my points doing my normal Slayer, which I can now skew. Like this changes, this saves a lot of points for other people like doing normal Slayer now. They don't have to worry about unblocking things to then do it on tasks, to then spend points, to then do other tasks, to then uh, unblock it again once you got all that. And I guess it separates it out in that way, but then it just makes it a requirement to have to do it. And so anyway, back to the other point. Yeah, now I have to do this task now today. Otherwise, I'm wasting a free reroll tomorrow to then keep on the PVM task. So
Absolutely.
like your day now has to be centered around doing this 2 to 3 hour task. Otherwise, you miss out on a free reroll. And I might be okay with that for a couple of days. I might be okay with that missing. But now it's creeping into okay. If you really want to complete all this stuff, you have to be playing every day. Like you have to log in every day and do this for a minimum of 2 to 3 hours because that's the task rate they're doing for now. Otherwise, you miss daily reroll. So the way they could fix this is if they stacked up the daily reroll. So say you didn't use one for the day, you'd have 2 tomorrow. But that'd be the only way to fix this. Another way to fix this is to not put this in the game whatsoever, because this is the issue. You're creating an incentive structure to where you're not forcing people to do it, but that's a efficient way to do it. So you are forcing people to do it, to play this way, and it's not healthy at all.
I would have liked to have seen the whole thing, assuming they're not just going to scrap it, which I'd be fine if they scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are. I guess I'm not a casual player. I don't want to pretend to know exactly how they think. But I know in general people love Slayer bossing, right? So I understand
Yeah.
why they're going in this direction. I wish this blog was more tailored as a way of doing Slayer tailored to people who want to do boss Slayer outside of doing like Duradel.
Yes.
So like don't add Olm task. What like we don't need an Olm task. Olm is fast enough. We don't need an 80 kill Bandos task. Like, give an alternative to Boss Slayer where people are able to do more Boss Slayer with less non-boss tasks in the mix, right? Like, make that a thing. Make it so you don't have to Turiel boost for half of your day to do Boss Slayer. Like, and also I'm not a big PVMer, but from what I've seen and what I've heard some of the complaints, this was particularly focused around like when Dragon Hunter Lance came out for raiding in particular.
Mm.
As things like this get faster, like and you just give like a huge DPS increase. I mean, this applies to Chambers. This applies probably Bandos as well, which is a relatively high skill cap to do efficiently. As DPS increases, the need for that like really high effort, high skill expression methods that goes down. Like you're not. I mean, I'm not gonna say this is what's gonna break like Bandos flicking, but like if you have your scythe and you're on task and you're killing Bandos in 6 hits every kill, like the need to do all the shield flicking, tick eating, the flicking, all like the need to do all of that, the benefit of doing all that goes down. You know what I mean? Like you might not even need to. Like if you have an Olm task now, like with that in Lance, you might not even need to do like 4-1 properly on the hands.
Yeah. No,
Like
I totally see what you mean. Like I felt this when I was just completing Zami, because I just it was something I needed to complete and wanted to do it for the extra spear just because I wanted to go to Corp. But because I had the Infernal Cape, Arc Light, full strength, like I would flick a bit, but then it got to the point where I was just brute forcing it, and the Arc Light just completely shredded it in like 7 hits every time.
mm-hmm.
Like there was no need for me to beat. Like I just did that like hardcore method, make sure I was above 86, and just like did the mammal thing, and it was very simple. Like there was no thinking around it. And I guess it's a basic boss, right? God Wars is very old, it's whatever, but there are more advanced ways to make it more efficient. But then if you just like you just said, if you add the extra like 20% onto it, the cost that like the diminishing returns you get into adding that extra complexity to your method makes it you're not incentivized to do it because you may as well just like face tank it and save the mental capacity to have to do all of that like tick manipulation. It
Yeah,
just like it's completely. I mean, and fundamentally, it just makes the game easier, which is not something that you should be actively going towards. Like another thing with the clue storage for the Ultimate Ironmans. I've been talking about this on Twitter. Like, you're actively making the purposely hardest game mode easier. Like, why is this even a conversation? Like, who really, like, if not playing the game for that extra challenge, and then you're making that particular challenge easier, like not having a bank. Okay, we'll give you a bank. It's like, what's the point of that? It's the reason why you can't use Seed Vault on the Ultimate, right? Like, so why is this even a conversation? I think specifically with this one as well, like, you have the most popular content in the game with the most popular skill in the game, and you're making it easier. Like, first and foremost, the question should be, why is this even something that's being proposed in the first place?
Yeah, who's asking for? Like, I guess I'm hung up on the Chambers one. Full disclosure, I'm really hung up on that mentally for some reason. Who is asking for this? Who does this benefit? Like, Chambers is wildly popular. Like, you can do casual group raids, you can do like efficient team raids, you can do efficient solos. Like, Chambers appeals to so many people. So many people already do it. What does it actually add to the game to get to go do it on task? Like,
Blood and death packs.
wait, was
So that
is that in there?
Yeah, so one of the
rewards. I didn't read that far down.
So it's the last reward essentially. So it says with Boss Slayer you can expect to use Blood and Death runes quite often, particularly with Powered, Staves, and Cipher Vita. Therefore, as the new Slayer Master store option, we would like to offer the chance to purchase these rune packs in Tazar store using Toggle as an unlock. So for us, it would basically be turning chaos runes into Bloods and Deaths. And I'm not sure how many chaos runes you have, but
I just dumped it.
Over 1 million.
I had all mine from 10k Vork. It was like 4 million or something. I just dumped them. I bought bolt tips.
So I have like 21 Onyxes from my 7k Zora. Don't ask. I just got really lucky with that. And like all of the chaoses I had from Goey Supertramp Barrows and Vorkath and stuff. Like, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do this for that. But other than that, like, so I mean, so if you think of it in 200 mil Slayer as well, this is another GP buff for us as Ironman. Like, we don't now spend, because I would say the raw GP would have just went into blood runes anyway. So we're skipping the alking. So the nature runes are costed with that, with the Onyx bolt tips, and we're just turning our tuckle straight into blood runes and death runes.
I wonder. I guess
it's a lot of time and a lot of money.
We'll have to see how expensive they are, but I wonder how much this will buff Sar thieving. If you have a better outlook.
I did all of my thieving at Sar, and I've already spent that tuckle on gems for crafting, because that was the efficient thing to do. I mean, again, this is updates like blood and death rune packs using Toggle, right? Like, there was already something you did with our Toggle because you do gem nights anyway. So like this change now, I can't now take advantage of the Toggle, like the 13 million Toggle that I spent on gem to at the time. So again, it's just another update where if you do something too early on an Ironman, you'll miss out on the update, which makes it way faster in the future. So yeah, it's just I feel like talking about another topic, because this one is.
This opens up. I think this kind of blog, like, I don't want to be the doom and gloom like veteran player talking about updates, but like so much in this blog kind of just speaks to the issues I see with updates, where it kind of starts from a good place where like it makes sense. I can see why players want it, but yeah, some of the things they add to it just seem so unnecessarily. Just like, imagine, I mean, I'm not a PVMer, but like, imagine you are a PVMer, you're going for like pet completion or something. So reading this blog would probably read to a skiller where they're like, what if you could pick a skill once a day and you go get 25% bonus XP while doing it?
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna go do my 2 hours of mining today at get 170k an hour doing it, and then I'll come back tomorrow for my next daily task. Like, that's just kind of what it would read like. Which I think the community more would agree that was ridiculous. I guess I haven't looked at any discussion on this yet. I try not to read the 2007 Scape Reddit. I'm not subscribed to or anything. Every once in a while when a big poll is announced, I go and look at the discussion. I kind of hope to see people be like, this is unnecessary. I'm not that optimistic, but I kind of hope the community rises up against this. At least some aspects of it, and says, we don't want this.
Gamers rise up to prevent this poor update from coming in, please.
Yeah, seriously, do your part, kids. Also, young Ironman skillers out there, don't finish your 200 mils. Go for
Yeah,
base XP goals.
I've learned that lesson for sure. Like I couldn't do swimming when it came out because I already had 200 mil thieving. I can't do the artifacts in glass blowing because I already had 200 mil thieving. Now I can't. Now I can't sell all the gems I've cut to for this as well. So yeah, just go for base goals because you won't get messed up. I'll just say that much. I feel like one topic that people want us to talk about specifically with us two is the efficient play style or like setting goals when we don't have that much time to play. So like, what do you take into consideration when you're setting goals for the game? I'll just ask that.
So my outlook, well, I guess I'll talk. There's kind of like my old mindset, and then obviously I have some IRL changes coming up that are gonna impact that. So I guess I kind of have an old and new mindset. My old mindset was I always wanted my goals to be between like 12 and 18 months ahead of where I was at.
Hmm.
I tried to avoid setting really long term goals because I didn't want to feel like I wasn't making significant progress towards it. And at the same time, I didn't want to just keep setting myself short goals like weekly or monthly just because I've always been the kind of player who loses motivation after achieving a goal.
Yeah,
Not
dude.
permanently, but briefly. And I didn't want to like constantly be like, well, I just hit my 20 mil smithing goal. I'm going to like fuck around and AFK while watching YouTube videos for the next week because I don't have another goal I'm working on. So I always tried to set myself something like after like shortly after max and I was figuring out the skilling stuff. I picked like a couple of 50 mils. I picked some like ones that interested me. I did like Slayer, I did Prayer, I did the 200 mil fire making. Those were all like relatively short term goals, like on the order of couple hundred hours to like I think like, what's fire making like 600. It was
Yeah.
always something that I could achieve in like within a year that I would feel like I was still making meaningful progress towards a long term goal. And then once I had knocked out a couple of those, I set the 50 mil base goal, which at the time I set it, I started that at the beginning of this year. I thought it would take me between like 12 and 16 months to finish that with how much time I was playing at the time. I was able to AFK a good bit at work, so that was adding to my playtime. So that was kind of my old mindset was that I always wanted to like set goals that let me engage with a lot of different skills, like keep learning methods, keep it fresh, keep me engaged with the game, but also yeah about that time frame. Um, I never really balanced those goals in particular against what was going on IRL. I always kind of just treated my amount of available playtime as being constant. I think I talked about this in one of my earlier rambles, but I moved away for work after graduating
Yeah.
from university, so I was kind of in a place where I was didn't know a lot of people. I obviously had my job. I had like going to the gym and stuff, but outside of that, I had just yeah a lot of consistent playtime. I wasn't going out a lot or anything, so it kind of was. I can reasonably expect to be putting in 35 hours a week of playtime, 40 hours a week of playtime. So setting long-term goals like that, I could have a good estimate for how much time it was going to take me. I kind of am moving into a phase of my life now where I'm moving to go back to school. So I'm going to be in a new city. I'm going to be doing the law school thing. A big thing with law school, I've been kind of talking with some of the professors, talking with some students, trying to just figure out like what's the mindset of the students. What should I care about? Um, it seems like unlike what I did for my undergrad, the important things in it are what you engage with outside of class.
Yeah.
So you're expected to get involved with some of like the this isn't meant to be me talking about law school, but there's like a lot of stuff outside of class you're supposed to do and get involved with. So I've kind of always been the person where when I have long term RuneScape goals, I'll kind of just do the bare minimum to get by like IRL, just so I have the playtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I so it kind of I'm rethinking now how I set those long term goals. I don't want to be thinking, oh, I need to be at the computer for X hours this week to stay on my goals. I want my goals to be a little bit more fluid, maybe even be a little shorter term, just so that I can, when I have the time, as I'm still going to have downtime, when I have the time, hop on, work towards something feel like I'm still making that progress, but if it's a time when I'm busy, if I'm not able to do anything for a week or two, I don't want to be like looking at my temple page and being like, damn, I'm on a 5 week. That's disappointing. So I'm trying to shift my mindset a little bit away from that. I'm probably going to like obviously I'm going for an Inferno Cape right now. I might do a little bit more on the PVM side, try to get some like best in slot gear for Slayer. I'm probably going to work on some like maybe some Hunter. This is the skill I enjoy the most in game. So like I'm shifting my goals towards a little bit shorter term. Probably going to cut down them on a little bit, so I'm not working on like every skill at once, like I kind of have been with like the constant skill hopping. I'll probably do a smaller range of activities in game, I think, but it's still, I guess I'm still not certain if it sounds like I'm a little bit like surprised by the words coming out of my mouth. This isn't something I've talked about a lot. It's something I've thought about a fair bit the
Interesting.
last few
Yeah.
weeks. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I know you're in a somewhat similar position with not having a lot of free time. How do you handle stuff like this?
Yeah. So I guess back in the day before I had a lot more real life obligation, I would look at my CML and be like, shit, I'm on a bad week. Because that was how not necessarily the Ironman community, but the skinning community would define like how well someone was doing was how much time they put in, how much EHP they had that week. And that's a pretty good like criteria for success or reaching your goals when you're comparing other people. But I think specifically with Ironman and specifically with longer term goals, which the game mode allows you to do, it's much healthier for you to um, have your own criteria for success of how well you're doing and what goals you're achieving. So one of my goals, and I try and achieve this every time, is to have a tick perfect herb run.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So my goal for like that session, because again, right, so I'm now a dad. I now have a full-time job. I'm getting
Congratulations.
married. Thank you. Like these are things which take up a lot. Well, it's actually a tangent. Like having a child isn't actually as time consuming as it seems. Like they do sleep a lot, so you do have time to play still. You do have time to do other things. There's a lot of logistics that get set up for that, but uh, you get a system built in, and that's what good parenting is, just making sure that they stay alive. Anyway, so that doesn't take that much time, so you can actually still game, which is so yeah. If hurting your gains is preventing you from becoming a parent, don't let that stop you, gamers. Anyway, I ran out of water as well, but that's fine. So yeah, I don't have that much time because of all these obligations. So yeah, like I said, having my goal was to have a tick perfect herb run every time I do a herb run, and my ultimate goal is 200 mil all. Like I see that as a realistic goal for anyone to go to strive for. To achieve it, maybe not, but to have a goal which is like possible, I feel like it is what you need. Most of my goals though to lead up to that, so I have like my wider goal of like, okay, I'll fully complete the game. Again, I see my account as like a file, like a legend is like an Ocarina of Time file, right? So
Hmm.
if you play that game, you go on the file selector and you see all the medallions, you see all the hearts, you see all the sculptures that you have. And my goal for this account is to have that have that account be that file screen. So it's not necessarily like completion log, collection log completionist or whatever, but I just see like a sense of completion or 100%ing of this particular game. So I see RuneScape widely as like a very long term single player RPG game for Ironman. So
Sure.
I treat it like that, and my goals are in line with that. So with herb runs, for instance, I'm going to be doing thousands of herb runs to complete the game. So the anything I can do to find a sense of achievement of making that faster and more efficient is a goal achieved for me. Another thing, like a system I use for goal setting, is making it smart. Like there's a concept called SMART goals,
Hmm.
where so you make them specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time based.
Hmm.
So specific isn't okay. What actually am I going to do? It's not like, oh, I'm just going to train Hunter. It's like, okay, how much Hunter XP are you going to be doing? Is it measurable? Yeah, it's a number. Is it attainable? Well, yeah, people have gotten 200 mil before, so it is attainable. Is it relevant to the goals that align with your values and long term objectives? So if it's not something related to 200 mil all or me trying to complete the game, then it's not really that. And then time based is like setting a realistic but like ambitious end date for it. So that produces like motivation and really prioritizes you. So for me, like with getting, like, say, for example, tick perfect herb runs, it's really specific, it's measurable. I know if I've missed a tick or not. It's attainable. I've done it before. It's relevant because it's in line with all the herb runs I need to do. And it's time based because every time I do a herb run, essentially.
Sure.
Yeah. And that doesn't need you to be sitting on your computer for 18 hours a day to feel the sense of achievement in playing efficiently or setting goals in the game. That, like, if you really scale down what you're doing and getting a sense of, yeah, I did that well, and not having that being wrapped around in getting 50-hour HP weeks, then you're able to enjoy yourself in the game even though you're only playing 5 hours a week, which I've done a couple times. So, like, does that make sense?
No,
Like,
it does. The aspect especially that speaks true to me is the like the micro efficiency aspect where for me I think as I play the game less and less on like a weekly basis, I think the things I do in game I'm always going to want to be doing something that lets me just, I'm trying to think of the exact way to phrase this. Something that is challenging enough that I can feel like I'm getting better at it every time I do it.
yeah.
Something where I can like really like even in the moment like get into the focus of like fixing my mistakes. Like that's why I love Hunter so much. Hunter I think is the most interesting skill in the game as far as like the all the things that go into doing it at a close to perfect level.
Getting the magic logs, getting the clockwork, running to
Honestly, birdhouses are fun too. I mean, you said herb run. I love trying to do the tick perfect birdhouse run. That's a
Yeah,
lot
they're
of fun. So I think
Yes.
I see myself though moving away from, I think like the skills in particular that like I don't know if I'm actually going to do a lot of ever, like RC. I don't find any of the RC stuff that interesting. I guess the 1.5 tick Dale is kind of interesting. Crafting probably never going to touch again. Just a lot of these skills where like cooking, like I don't know. I don't see myself ever being like I have a couple hours of free time. I'm gonna log in and I don't know blow glass for 3 hours before bed. Like I think that's the kind of stuff that I'm starting to say. Maybe that's not going to be for me. I think moving into the future, what I'm going to really focus on is, well, I think one, I'm going to try to make my goals like I talked about, not be like ever based on a time frame. I don't want to feel the pressure to meet a deadline for any kind of achievement in game. I want my time to be enjoyable when I'm logged in and enjoyable when I'm not logged in. I don't want to sweat the games when I'm not playing. I want
Yeah, 'cause we don't have the time to do that anymore. So you need to be able to, like, release yourself from that desire to have your sense of success in the game be determined by how much you play it, but more how well you play it.
exactly.
Is where I get it from now. So, like, so my goals are still macro. Like, like I have a giant macro goal of completing the game, but my sense of achievement isn't based on how quickly I do that over the space of years. It's just like how well I do that in the time I have to actually play it. So, like, my sense isn't how much time, but how fast I do it in the session I have. Like, I'm never bank standing or like sitting at the bank AFKing. Like I learned that in World of Warcraft. You just never do that. There's always something in the game to do. So figure out what it is in line with your goals and go do that. Because if you're just standing around doing nothing, then you're missing out. You're not playing the game in a micro way to help your macro goals. So yeah, always be doing something. And then when you're actually doing that thing, just finding the micro efficiencies in that to do it well, because you may have to like log off instantly and just put it down. But at least in that time that you've been playing the best of your ability.
Yeah,
And that's how I set goals, and that's how I play efficiently, even though 200 mil isn't necessarily a realistic goal for people. I'm still playing towards that. That's still the end goal in mind, for me personally.
yeah.
And
Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, I'm done. Yeah, go ahead.
This is true of you and I both, and I don't want to say like it's a requirement, but in my mind, like the things we're talking about now goes hand in hand with. For me, I see a huge part of the Ironman skilling community being that engagement in the discussion of how the game should be played. Like talking
Yes.
about the theory crafting, talking about the updates, doing the math, talking like just engaging with that process, keeping your goals dynamic, like changing your goals and your play style, like staying flexible to updates. Like not being like the kind of person who's like, I'm not doing this stupid new boss slayer shit. I have the game figured out. That to me, I want to stay involved with that. Like and play the game enough to be a relevant participant in that discussion. But honestly, I think engaging with that is what's going to ultimately keep me around with this game.
Me
Like
too.
I don't think I'd be doing this if it was just me playing an offline game in my apartment, like not talking to
Yeah,
people about it. I don't think I'd enjoy it.
I feel like I would because I'm a freak. So
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I would. I don't know though. I don't know.
I've played a lot of single player games for a long time, and again, this is how I treat this game. But it's good though because there's other people who are as passionate as we are in discussing what updates may affect to the grander scheme of things. Like especially with a goal so lofty as 200 mil on a Nightman, 200 mil on a Nightman, to play as if updates. No, sorry, let me rephrase that. To play as if the game won't change during this period of time, it's just silly. Like I feel like you and Luke talked about it. Like, do you play with the updates in mind? I feel like you have to just to have a healthy mindset with it. Because I mean, I regard getting 200 mil thieving as a mistake. Like I really do. Like because it's locked out. I've probably. I mean, I got it's a tangent actually. So I think I got like rank 28 thieving, and I'm now rank 24, which means like
Just from the bump bands. Iron
just,
Ironman. Yeah, a lot of bands. We don't have to talk about if we feel like they were
there's a
deserved or
lot of
not. But yeah,
a
lot of
of
bands.
sorry, I just found that really funny.
That's funny.
Like I'm now front page feeding because yeah, even though I had a pretty high rank for feeding, and I was trying to go for front page, and it kind of got out of my grasp at like 116 or something. Like, okay, fuck it, I'll just go a bit slower on it. And because it was like gem nights in the time of my life where I could just like tap on my phone or tap on my foot. Remember foot pedaling? Crazy.
I actually never did it. I don't know if I'm going to. I was debating buying one for back to school. Did you enjoy doing it?
Uh, enjoy is the wrong word. I did it. That's all I can say.
Is it
Like,
better than clicking? Did you prefer it to that? Like, do you think it'd be more enjoyable than tapping your phone?
So you're a Smash Melee player as well, right?
I am.
So
Yeah.
So I have a USB adapter for GameCube controllers to play on Dolphin on NetPlay. And so I just use a GameCube controller. I mapped the B button to click. I just pressed that, and because it was ergonomic. It was very easy. I could just tap B all the time. So I just did that, and then for if I used it on my foot, I just pressed A. So I mapped A to it, and I just like pressed A with my big toe. That's what I did.
That's some nerd shit, Vatti. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could get like mouse inputs from a controller.
Yeah, you can because if you USB adapter your game controller into it, or just any Bluetooth controller, because you can then map everything onto it. So yeah, that's how I did my thieving. But anyway, I regard thieving as a mistake because I'm now locked out of anything related to doing that. And if they have like a thieving integrated skill into Herblore, I'm screwed. Like, and it goes to like from 80k to 120k. I'm messed up. Like that's just done. I can't compete in that realm anymore. So, but in that, it's just admitting that updates will come, and you have to be able to adapt to them. So, it just like you said, setting like base goals or just like kind of doing things efficiently but slowly, and kind of being at ease with things coming into the game because it is such a long goal. So that's kind of what you have to do with it. But like that's how you measure it is by what's going to change in the meantime. It's just part of any basic risk assessment. So
it is. There's really no way around it. I think you and I both talked about just playing with updates in mind, and it can be frustrating. It can be kind of annoying not being able to treat the meta as what it's going to be. But yeah, it's you're definitely not helping yourself, especially with like. I mean, like if you want to do 200 mil Slayer, I know there's quite a few irons who are going for 200 mil Slayer. If that's like what you want to do, then enjoy the game at the end of the day, right? I'm not here to criticize how people play, but there are some skills where rushing 200 mil in them, especially in Ironman mode, is just you're hurting yourself a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Speaking of rushing and Slayer in particular, so they've been talking about this Vorkath nerf for like a year, and it's like, even though we just had a quick discussion on having to keep things in mind, I feel like this particular state of Ironman mode is pretty good. like for like how we've mapped out all like the path and Slayer and how it integrates into everything. I feel like it's like it seems pretty simple. You just do Vorkath on your Slayer, and you do have a task, and it's fine. If they touch Vorkath in any way, like I don't even know what's going to happen to how we go about doing things. Like, yeah, like where's our money going to come from if they hit that? Like, it's going to be could be a wild time. What are your thoughts on how a change in Vorkath could really fundamentally shake what we're planning to do?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is I definitely agree with your point that I think Slayer is in a good spot right now. A lot of barrage tasks available, and the money's coming from Vorkath to support it. I think like the overall
Mm-hmm.
XP per hour of the efficient task list is high. Vorkath is strong. Side note, since a ramble after all, God, I hate when Jagex like does this, like they'll dangle the update in front of you,
Yep.
like yeah we're talking about this. It might fuck over your whole game mode, but yeah, it's on the back burner. Some intern
Yep.
came up with a revised drop table. We have it loaded up. We just have to press the button. It'll go live. But yeah, any change to Vorkath itself or to Slayer as a whole, Ironman mode is a little bit fragile in the sense that with
Mm.
so much of your GP coming from Vorkath, like it's like 75% or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less now with Sepulchre, but still the vast majority is coming from Vorkath. If Vorkath is changed or if Slayer is changed, if Slayer gets faster, Vorkath gets worse. If Vorkath gets nerfed, obviously Vorkath gets worse. I think I don't know if the Vorkath nerf is going to come. I if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet against it, but I think it's a very real possibility. I think we should all be playing though with the thought in the back of our heads that GP might become a lot tighter in the future. As far as where
Yeah.
it comes from, actually honestly, if this Slayer blog that they just announced it goes through, there might be some of these Slayer bosses where if you can do them like or some of these just bosses in general, like if you can do them strictly on task and if you can get the task quickly, like I'm thinking Hydra in particular.
Yep.
If I can
Like
go pick a Hydra task, like no Konar, no fucking around doing like melee fire giants to get a Konar task.
exactly.
That's a lot of money quickly available. I'm pretty sure Hydra is I want to say more GP per hour than Vorkath. Obviously, like you don't get the cooking, so I think it's worse in like overall. But the GP is fantastic there.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
So
And it's not equivalent prayer, obviously, but you still get 75% of the prayer.
mhm.
So there's that, and the GP order makes up for the crafting and cooking loss.
Mhm.
So and do you get runes as well, like same amount, like not the same amount of runes, but it's like not having to do Konar to get Hydra to get your lance. It's like a big change, just
Mhm.
like fundamentally. Like you get 95 Slayer, and then you go to here, and then you just daily do your Hydra. You do your daily Hydra essentially.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, man.
I do think PVM might become more. I think there might be a little bit more diversity in the PVM you can do though for GP. Like I know I wanted to talk about this with the methods people. Apparently, this gargoyles change made the boss like 5 kills an hour more. The drops were already decent. The XP was already decent. If you have PVM gear, I think it's pretty decent money doing that. So like there's things like maybe grotesques, things like Cerberus, things like Hydra maybe that are all like obviously none of those are as good as Vorkath is, but I don't know. I see the game shifting. I think the PVM in one way or another will remain the primary GP source. Like I don't think it's not going to go back to battle stabs. I don't think. I don't. What else can you even do for that much money? If you're like, fuck, I need 4 bill more GP. Where am I going to get it from? Like you can't. Like I don't
I
know.
don't
It's
know.
only going to be like, all right, we're doing 12 years of daily stabs.
Maybe.
I hope
Or
not.
like you like you have to do teaks.
Yeah.
You have to like find time not only to do your fletching but also to do your alking as well.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I just thought about going over this blog again, we're talking about the blog again, but it's a ramble, whatever, is Gauntlet, like getting Slayer XP for doing Gauntlet. Like it's no secret that I think Gauntlet's the best content in the game, and the GP from there is ridiculous. Like the amount of runes and just raw GP you can get from there if you're fast at it is just like crazy. So that's just another thing. Like if you get a Gauntlet task, it's probably going to be GP worth doing if they nerf Vorkath but have this in the game. Um, yeah,
Honestly, that
interesting.
in a way, like the skiller in me is like, don't touch my Vorkath. Don't change the meta. I like the meta, but I don't think it'd be the worst thing from the game if some more diversity in like the PVM sources you do for GP were added. I think that would be ultimately healthy. Like if I was doing like Serb, Hydra, Gauntlet for GP instead of just strictly Vorkath, like again, I'm not advocating for the change, but like if that's the change that's going to come into the game for Ironman GP, I could live with that one.
Yeah, I hear that and I agree with the wider point. I just feel like the danger is that there's, I mean, in history for Iron Man, it's always been that one monster you have to go do.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was always Zora because it was tied into so much, and you got no Slayer XP from it. But then because Vorkath was had the drop table, but was also integrated into Slayer XP, it's just like dwarfed over so many other things. But now with this coming and you can also set up a task list where you were getting gargoyles and hellhounds and all these other things. So if you did have like a cooldown on your on this guy and your daily just didn't line up, then you can go do that. So yeah, I just don't trust the Jagex to balance these type of things. Like with the drop table, say like do it, leave it for 3.5 years, and then
Yeah.
like yeah. So it's just a lot really. It's just hard to really think about. I am particularly worried. It is motivating. It is kind of wanting me just to keep slaying until that happens. Like
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I get my 20 mil base, I just keep slaying. Now that I've got Infernal Cape and Seldor, I think it's just worth for me to go and do that. I mean, especially because I don't Nightmare Zone as well. It's good for me to do this Slayer meta anyway. I melee my Nex, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
for my attack XP. I melee my Dagonos for strength XP. Like I do Skeletals and Fossil Islands for the Vicious chance
I'm
because
a big fan of that task.
Fossil Islands or
Yeah,
Skeletals.
yeah, Fossil.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I
Like
like
they're
that.
just they're chill and they're seaweed sports that I have to wait on under the sea for. Because again, I can't do swimming for my sports because I don't have 200 mil thieving. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just extra melee XP I won't get from Nightmare Zone. So yeah, and a lot of GP and bones and prayer comes from that anyway. So again, like I said, this meta is really good for not only Ironman in general, like it's healthy, it's easy to understand. You know, you get your one thing from this place and you do this before you do this, and that's fine. And then once you're set up, you're just good to blitz it. You can bring in ults and that's fine, and you can do like you can shift it up a bit. But mainly most of your GP comes from here. But for me specifically, for my account build and my play style and what I'm doing, it's really good for me. So
Mm-hmm.
any tweaks to any of this at all, like I feel like I have to fundamentally think about like can I even have the same goal of getting 200 mil all in a realistic time anymore? Obviously that's still going to be the case, but like with now it seems pretty possible because it's enjoyable. I like it. That helps. Yeah, it's just lot of things coming to my mind. So
Yeah, doing Slayer right now, it does set all the other skills up pretty well. I don't think
mm,
you won't get all of your GP from Slayer, but like if you were to theoretically finish Slayer with the current meta, like there's always like Slayer itself will probably be faster in the future, right? But at the same time, like I don't think that like Higer, for instance, has really disadvantaged himself by doing Slayer with
no,
the meta he did it in. And I think there's
no,
also the very real potential that if something does change on Vorkath, he gains 1,500 hours overnight on people who haven't done the Vorkath that he did in the way he
yeah,
did.
that's the worry, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, because that's what happened with me and Zora. Like Zora changed, and then like you just couldn't get much of the good stuff anymore. And then for a period between Zora and Vorkath, like that's actually a good thing I need to think about. I need to go back into like videos and see what we were doing between Vorkath and between the Zora nerf and Vorkath being released. Like what was our mindset going into that? Because that was a time and period where GP was so tight. Like like we are doing a lot of green dragons for our prayer, and some GP was coming from that. There was no Sepulchre for the GP from agility. There was no myth capes to save on teak planks, so you're just doing straight teaks. Yeah, just a lot of stuff where the GP just wasn't existent.
Yeah, what did you
And
even do? Is it just stabs?
I can't
I
remember.
guess maybe
Uh,
like a lot of like I guess maybe you're just doing no barrage slayer. Like maybe just like you're just meleeing gargoyles, necks, whatever
yeah,
else Kerr
yeah,
asks.
Yeah, contracts went out as well, so you'd melee next.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the catacombs are out. But you just weren't. I definitely remember me still meleeing my necks even though people were barraging because of the GP and melee XP because we had no other source for it.
Hmm.
So I even think a period during that time, unless we figured it out, like you didn't have enough GP to get 200 mil. Like you had to like go out your way to do like post 200 mil blackjacking, or you had to like camp next for Herbler or something,
Hmm.
like those sort of things. But now we're in a place where it's all integrated and you don't have to go off your path to do the GP skill. Like
Right.
there's no like yeah exactly. So it's just something to think about. That's actually something I'll do later on. I might post about. I'll make another video about. It's like what were we doing back then for GP, because that we could be in that position if they don't have this mindset in mind, and we know that they don't think about these type of things. So yeah, it's something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. Yeah. I guess I'm not even positive exactly what to say. Like you hit the necessary talking points there. There's a lot of potential ramifications to them touching Vorkath. I don't think any of which are will be good for the game mode. Might be good for the game. I mean, Vorkath is like it's got to be just terrible for the economy, right? that,
There's a lot
that
of, I think there's a lot of things terrible for the economy.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Is
what's up?
there is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, let me take a quick look at our list.
Yeah, we have oats, but I touched on that a
Yeah,
bit.
you did touch on that. I guess the only thing we didn't explicitly talk about was, I guess, do you have any like the issues with the game mode as a whole? This is something that somebody asked us to talk about.
Yeah,
We've touched on a few things. They've kind of been more concerns with future updates, more so than like grievances with the current game. But is there anything you're unhappy with the game mode?
yeah. Three things ultimately come to mind. The first one is what you just mentioned, like updates coming into the game ruining it. Well, ruin, but that's like talking as if this is like a precious moment in Ironman mode history, and
Hmm.
we need to preserve it as much as possible. No, things are going to change, and we need to adapt to it. So that language isn't helpful for a healthy mindset and playing the game long term. So yeah, updates changing the game to where you need to rethink your goals and how you're going to be achieving them. I think one which we're seeing a bit more in the Ultimate Ironman community is the wanting to make things easier just through like an actual lobbying of that. So we have, say, like people in Olympus, you have like high level like PVMers and these type of things, and we're in like our own like top of the mountain, whatever, hence the name. But then you have like a lot of people who want to make the game mode easier for the sake of having a better time playing it. Like they equate fun in the game for like easiness, or like being able to like lean back as opposed to finding the challenge in the game mode itself.
Hmm.
Which I feel like is a danger which I don't feel like is being heeded in the company. Like there's a lot more acquiescence to making the game easier, as opposed to like an update's never going to be repealed first and foremost. So as soon as it's in the game, it's in the game forever. So it can only be tweaked and changed with the numbers. But even fundamentally, then there's only a certain amount of like statistical range it can change. Right? It's
Yeah,
never going to be like
if everybody rises up for a long period of time to complain about something, they'll nerf it by like 10%.
correct.
Sometimes that's like your best case scenario with a nerf. It's not things aren't getting reverted.
Yeah, never. And just this is like a 0.5 point as well. What the Ultimate Ironman community is going to quickly find out that specifically with the clue chest update in the POH, that Jagex will come to them in their discords. They'll go in there. They'll make a separate chat channel for them. They'll have like week-long discussions about all the different intricacies of the game mode, how it directly affects them. Jagex will be like begging you for your contributions, making sure everyone gets involved. They'll probably go on voice chat and really befriend you and talk about other things as well. And then 2 weeks later, completely ignore every single one of your suggestions and then implement it anyway. Because that's what's happened every single time they've come to us as the Discord or in Olympus with any other update. Like take Day Out, for instance. That's Did's idea. Like
Hmm.
Dids came up with that update and had all the numbers ready. Sandstone was another thing as well. Library Nerf was another thing as well. Just to free off the top of my head, we've had many different game updates which affected Ironman, which we've ran the numbers for, we've given them to them, and they just completely ignored them and put them in the most overpowered or underpowered way, where it didn't make a fundamental difference whatsoever. So, like the team who have direct control over what happens, again, because we have no control of it, polling is useless. They'll just implement it and change it. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. But anyway, there's a they want to like, acquiesce to everyone's demands to make the game easier. So that's one danger for the mode. But and I think another, and just one last one really for me into the game mode is the world hopping. I just hate
Yeah.
it. I hate it so much. I feel like just like have like just for blast furnace in general, just the gold ore. I just want an infinite supply of gold ore at like 7.8 GP per XP. Like just give me that over having to world hop for it, and I'd be very very happy. Like because it wouldn't save that much time. It would still cost. It probably I'd make it cost 10 GP per XP just for no world hopping, please.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'd be so down with it. Or even, I guess, yeah. I mean, my outlook on Blast Furnace was, I guess, I don't mind the world hopping so much. Just give me individual stocks. Maybe they can't support that. Maybe that's too much to ask for in the game.
I
But
think
like,
so.
let me do the ultimate Iron Man method at 5 p.m. I don't want
Yeah,
to have to go nocturnal to do the good method. I can't
yeah.
stand that shit.
Yeah, having because again, single player game mode for me. So having like other people being able to affect your shop stock just doesn't sit well with me. And every time it happens with astrals, with I've never had to buy deaths or bloods, luckily, because of going dry by arrows like 3 years ago, but whatever. Gold ore, these type of things. Just
Yeah,
like every time I see a zero stock, I'm just like that wasn't my fault, and it shouldn't really affect me, but it is. So, yeah,
yeah.
what are some of your issues with the mode?
So I guess as a current as like a snapshot of the skilling meta, I'm pretty content with the game. I like playing. I don't have. I think with the exception of smithing, which I actively dislike, I enjoy the rest of the skills in the game. I think they're in a relatively healthy balance. I think the 200 mil all route, like regardless of that, if I actually see myself achieving that or not, I think is an enjoyable way to play the game. I think it's good. My issue more so is with, again, it comes back to Jagex. It's not so much like individual updates. It's them seeing. I think they see Iron Man mode as a PVM slash completionist game mode.
Yeah,
I think that's what they view the game mode as. And I think all future updates, as they have for the last few years, will focus, or for Iron Man will focus around making every type of supply, from skilling supplies to consumables for PVM, be more convenient, cheaper, easier to get. I think they want people to make Iron Man to do PVM, to do clue scrolls. I think that's what they see Iron Man mode as being for. Which, and that, I mean, that's what a lot of people play the game mode as. Like, it's the skillers are definitely a minority when it comes to this game mode, but I think they will. Like, I mean, obviously, like the biggest example for me, I think, like obviously Herbor's gotten faster with contracts, which I don't hate contracts, but I feel like you still have to put a good bit of effort into staying on top of them
yeah.
to get the benefit of. I think what they've done with crafting is the most egregious example, where they want Iron Men to get their Zenites easier. Like, random 1700 total Iron Men was saying, "Wow, this is a pain in the ass trying to get to my torture." So they're like, "All right, here's seaweed and sandstone. Go get your torture in 3 weeks doing this." I think they will just continue to kind of make it easier to streamline people to endgame PVM, and that will come at the cost of any supply based skill. So I think Herbor is going to continue to get easier. Prayer is going to continue to get easier. Crafting probably. Like, I think all of these are just going to be at Jagex's mercy if the PVMers don't find it enjoyable.
And I think one thing that you're missing in the skills list that you listed there, which is kind of the whole point of our discussion, is Slayer getting easier.
True. Yeah. Can't
Because
forget that.
because a lot of the PVM stuff comes from Slayer. If this update comes in, then it's all going to be around Slayer task and doing it on Slayer. So having that earlier bit of Slayer be, the gargle drop table changes. That's 75 Slayer for like a mil per task, like with
Hmm.
all the gold, with all the other things coming from it. So, change like putting purescence and gargoyles like makes your ZMI easier to get you to 77 Mooncraft. Like all these things through the achievement diaries is like getting that like mid-level but want to do some like Cox with the Boys type account in my void, but not elite because I can't do the achievement diary X out of the rune crafting level. Like those type of players, I feel like that's what the appeal is for, and it fundamentally changes everything that we do.
Yeah.
So just kind of heeding to that.
I feel like
Just what
I feel like Jagex is catering to a generation of Ironman players like who watched like the second half of Bodhi's Ironman videos, like where he's actually doing the
Yes.
PVM, and they're like, yeah, well, this is fantastic. Like this looks so much fun, and they forget about the hundreds of hours mining pure essence, crafting like death runes, charging orbs, all that shit. Like the real like meat and potatoes grind of Iron Man mode that lets you unlock all of that future content. I think they've kind of they just want it to be the second half. You know what I mean? Because that's the fun part, like quote unquote fun part. Like you and I
Yeah.
appreciate the whole process, but I don't think a lot of players do.
Yeah, I've always said this. Like there are Iron Men, and then there are mains who have Iron Man accounts.
That's a
Like,
great way of putting it.
yeah. So like there are people who love the game mode for all aspects, and then there are mains who want to have the Iron Man logo when they get their drops. Like people who do TOB but on an Iron Man account, or Cox on an Iron Man account, but then don't really do much else in Team Way. People who get other people to train their crafting for them, we won't name names. Like these type of players with that mindset of they have their account just for the helm or just for like the sense of status rather than actually wanting to partake in the intricacies and the planning of the game mode itself. Um, I guess ultimate mode is a bit more protected on that, but we're now starting to see like I'm not starting to see a lot more ultimates than I thought there actually were, like on Twitter or on Discord and stuff. Like I didn't know there were that many people who play it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are now people who like I feel like another thing that you said about people being inspired to do the PVM stuff and that getting easier won't be helped by people remaking their hardcores every time they die on PVM.
No, definitely not.
Because like, and if you notice, right, like people are getting faster at getting their hardcores up because one, they've done it before, but two, the game mode's getting easier on the early game, specifically in Ironman to get themselves up there. So that is something that I hadn't actually considered, which you made me really scared for. Is just how the wanting to make the game mode easier, but at like a point of time where, or a point of the game where it's that's the game. You do crafting for 40 hours if you want it. Like that's the restriction you chose. It's like, well, no, I want this restriction to be looser. It's like, well, then may as well just play a main. Like,
I
because
think,
again,
yeah,
yeah,
I think the game has matured to the point where most people have been around so long that like like having an Iron Man account is just normal. Like
yeah,
regardless of you're like how many people play Iron Man and have played a lot of it, like who don't like they don't love. I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like I'm saying like, oh, you shouldn't play Iron Man unless you love the grind, but
of
like
course.
just a lot of people who like, yeah, it's just like it's something to do. Like I've seen like so many of my friends like who started playing the game as mains, and now they have an Iron Man on the side because they want to do, yeah, like the PVM stuff with the boys. They want to get the gear progression. Like it's enjoyable.
Mhm.
It's come play the game, but I think those players will inadvertently bring about changes that I don't want to see come to the game mode, and I don't
Yeah.
know how to rectify that because I don't want to be like, I don't know, I don't want to keep people out of the game modes. I think it's the most enjoyable thing I've ever done in this game. I think I want more people to experience it. I don't know how to keep those changes from coming. Maybe it's just inevitable. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is, and but I think it's also important to be open to these discussions and just the realization of the player base under you, or what might affect your goals in the future, to be able to plan for that because that just makes us again more efficient with the time that we have, and kind of orients what our goals are, and kind of having that mindset. Just going way back to to the discussion at the start, like we didn't. These are things that I wouldn't have considered back in 2018 when I was making my rambles back then,
Mm-hmm.
but these are things now that I know after believing that Jagex will listen to me balancing stuff for updates and all the numbers. Now I know that they won't. Then it's not something I need to consider for my goals anymore. It makes my life easier. It makes the game more enjoyable, just being at ease with where the game's going, rather than feeling like I can actually make a difference and have it not, and like feeling like I need to protect the integrity of the mode from where it is now because it's just going to change and it's just going to change again, and that's just the way it is with the type of people who play. Again, there are Ironmen and then there are mains who have Ironmen, and there are a lot more of them than us. So, and even when they say that they listen to you, they just won't. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you need to be able to understand that, and then from that integrate that into your goal setting, and that's what I've been doing at the moment. So,
I think a good litmus test for how much Iron Man mode has changed is like what percentage of playtime do you spend not actively gaining XP? I think it used to be a
Yes.
huge portion. There was so much of like the gathering and the behind the scenes aspects. Now, like I think I see Ironman mode and mains in the main skilling play style. Like I see them starting to merge in more and more ways where my like the resource aspect is like almost zero time. Like I
Hmm.
have to do Vorkath. I have to do some whatever the PVM flavor of the year is to get your GP and supplies. But like outside of that, like I can go and be actively gaining XP in whatever skill I want to train. There's not that preparation aspect for most things anymore. Like when I got my sand for 50 mil crafting, it took me like 4 days to prep that. Like that was
Yeah.
it, and then I got to blow glass for God knows what, like a month. Like
And
it's
the only
yeah,
the only the only prep stuff is just buying buckets, grapes, jugs, gold ore, runes
it's
from
all
the shop.
packs other
It's all
than
and
gold ore. Other than gold
it's
ore.
all yeah, oh, yeah. It's all in it's all in packs. Even in Vorkath, you're getting Slayer XP. Back in the day, you just kill skeleton wyverns off task with no wilderness altar,
Mm-hmm.
or you'd kill green dragons with no noted bones, or you'd kill Zora not on task. And you'd have to prep for that. You'd have to make all your recoil rings by yourself. There was no ring of suffering. So there was no even incentive to do crafting because there was no Zenites. Like again, it's just a lot of these things. Yeah, like they've integrated so much into everything that you could actually do anything, and it would contribute to your ultimate goal. So I guess that's contributed to like the healthiness of the mode, to where like you can do something and still like achieve things and still get a sense of achievement. That's where I feel like it's also good to get a sense of achievement and goal setting out of that. Again, tick perfect herb runs, like gauntlet, which isn't really related to XP at all. But these type of goals where they're your own personal thing and aren't really tied to the your real, like, your seen objective progression on your account, like stuff you can like gear upgrade and stuff, but also the time played on your temple. So I
Yeah,
feel like that's a healthy way of doing it.
yeah. I will say I think yeah. You and I. I mean, you and I obviously both have concerns for the way the game is headed, but at least for me, I don't find the game any less enjoyable now than I did 3 years ago. There's some
Me too.
things I wish weren't here, but I think the game itself has stayed enjoyable. I don't feel myself like burning out as a result of this.
I'm more motivated to play than ever, and I
Yeah,
have
same.
less time. And I have less time to play than I ever do, than I've ever had.
Yeah.
So yeah, try and explain that one. They're obviously doing something right. So
I think there's an as I think that I think it how your motivation goes, like how that correlates with your free time to play. I think speaks almost strictly to how you set goals. I think
yes,
so many people have goals that are like community recognition based, or like I want to be doing these months this often. I want to be with like in the in group of players who are also playing that much. Like that's why when you see people like how many times have we seen somebody who's playing like 90 hours a week, like go back to school or get a job, and they just instantly quit because like they
yeah,
can't do what they did before. I think if your goals are ultimately personal, I think if you're playing because you love the game and I don't know, I don't want to say like if you burn out you don't love the game, but like I think you and I can set goals and enjoy the game in a way that yeah, it's doesn't matter how much free time you have. Like I could be 30 playing this game 5 or 10 hours a week and I think I'm still enjoying it.
bro. I'm 28 and I'm playing the game 10 hours a week, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
Like
old man.
exactly. Like I've been around the block. I've played games at a very like the highest level in the world for a while. Like this is like trying to get to top page for this game. Just like I've done more achievable things than this. So
Mhm.
like the time required and sense of achievement that I would get from that is not worth me doing that. So what else can I do to motivate myself play the game?
Yeah.
And I feel like with a lot of people who were around, I'm not sure how old you are. You don't need to say, but
I'm 25.
yeah. So like even I'm thinking even younger, right? Like if you're 20, I remember me being 22, playing like trying to be world's best mage in World of Warcraft. Like the amount of shit I went through to try and push myself to do that, like I can never do now, and I wouldn't want to do now, and it just wasn't enjoyable in hindsight.
Mhm.
So just making sure, like even in melee as well, like just like doing like training on Falco on NetPlay, playing some randoms just so I can like get a sense of achievement on my locals just doesn't make sense anymore. Like especially now with the way community's going, that's a topic another time.
Yeah.
But like yeah, but like it's so you have to find a sense of achievement which can sustain you for very long. And at that age, I definitely thought that the way I was being motivated was actually sustainable. But now I'm a lot older and I have a lot less time to play. I realized that I could never integrate those two, and there had to be a trade off at some point. And having real life stuff, but also playing the game at the same time. Even with having a more of a balance of real life, it's just much healthier for a healthier life in general. Like, I may get 200 mil all when I'm like 35, but I'm still going to be like earning a good career. Like, I'll have multiple children by that point. Life will be very good, and I wouldn't have had to I would have to sacrifice a lot of time playing RS, but it wouldn't have been worth it because I'm still enjoying it. I can still just pick it up and put it down, and I don't feel the sense that I have to keep playing all this time just to keep up with whoever, So
yeah, I think I'm envious of that. I think I'm trying to get through that transition. I think I've been coming out of a mindset for the last like year and a half, 2 years of just making my focus trying to have as much free time to spend making the gains. And I think I want to get to that point that you're at where yeah, I can pick it up, I can put it down, I can stay involved with the community, I can still bitch about updates, I can hop on the mic and record some rambles, and just yeah, I don't know, I'm excited for the future of the game mode. I'm excited for my future with the game, regardless if I'm what kind of like yearly numbers I'm putting up. It's almost certainly going to go down, but I don't know. I'm excited about the future. Like, regardless of how much you and I have complained today about all the stupid shit Jagex does, I think at the end of the day, it is still a fun game. It's a fun game mode.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sitting here recording an hour and 43-minute ramble with a guy I've just first talked to ever if I didn't really enjoy this game mode and didn't enjoy talking about it and didn't enjoy, so it does make sense.
That is worth mentioning. I guess if you're, I don't know how many people have stuck around for the full hour and 43 minutes, but yeah, Vatti and I have never spoken before today.
Never, yeah. So, so their passion breeds conversation and excitement. I'm excited that you're excited. I'm all motivated to play now because of you playing. Like, I'm motivated to do construction because you and Luke did it. I'm motivated to get 20 mil all because other people are doing it and having base rate goals and these type of things. So community is too important not to ignore. And even when I didn't play when WoW Classic was released, I still kept in touch. I didn't play for 107 days. I went from like rank 30 to rank 50, like rank 60. And that'd be a big hit for people. Oh my god, you're burnt. It's like, well, no, I was just doing something else, and I came back and I'm enjoying it way more than ever. So, it's important. I actually need to go.
Yeah, we've been on here for a long time. This is gonna be way longer than anything I've recorded so far up to this point. I think my longest ramble before this was like an hour.
I think me too. Actually, I've never done a lot. I used to stream like back in the day, so I used to do these type of things off the cuff for like 8 hours. But God, yeah. The times where I had time to stream, Jesus Christ, yeah, I don't envy that.
Yeah, I'll let you go. I guess I will say I think we should, I don't know, tentatively plan on maybe in like 6 months or something hopping back on talking about, I guess, how things have changed. I know you and I are both going through transition periods right now. I think the game is going through somewhat of a transition period, so it'd be cool just to kind of like reflect on what we talked about today and see how things have changed.
Yeah, in that vein, then. So just we can watch the end of this when we do the next one. But like, where do you see yourself in game in 6 months? Like, what goals do you think you'd want to achieve in 6 months? And then we'll see if you achieve them.
Yeah, I'm gonna do obviously hopefully finish the Inferno Cape soon. I better have that in 6 months. Gonna get Bandos. I'm gonna do a little Tob, at least for a Vernic. I'll probably wrap up. I guess I've kind of put the 50 mil base goal on the back burner for now. I'd like to finish cooking. Maybe I have fletching banked. I'll finish fletching and maybe agility. Maybe those three I'd like to have done. I'd like to have decent grades, not have flunked out of school yet. So I guess we can see if that holds true. But yeah, I guess ultimately I kind of hope that I've, outside of like the actual numbers in game, I kind of hope that I've found the balance I'm looking for. It's hard to predict what life is actually going to look like, but I hope I've come to a point where I'm able to have just an enjoyable experience with the game still and still feel motivated ultimately.
Yeah.
What about you?
I want 30 mil base.
Oh, okay.
In 6 months, and I'm just looking at my skills now, and That's a very, very achievable. I didn't realize how close I actually was to that. Because you get. I'm sure you've had this, but you get to 20 mil base, and then you look at it. It's like most of my skills are actually 40 mil plus. Like I could probably just keep going.
Yeah. We were talking a
Um,
little bit about zero timing on the phone. You should try the. Have you done any of the like phone day ult?
no,
It is really
but
good.
is
Just a
it?
side note. It's like 1 APM and it's like a point 0.6 method because it's like point 0.6 of the
Oh,
1.5 tick.
fuck, you're
AFKing
right.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the AFK method out there.
And if you didn't, this, I mean, I absolutely adore ZMI. Like ZMI was my shit back in the day.
Hmm.
So I will be doing ZMI with my day out. After I get 20 mil fishing, I might swap to day out. That's a good shout. Do you need like the Firewatch outfit for that? Because I need to get that.
No, you don't. All you need is the medallion. You want to know the best part too is that all you need is a pickaxe and the essence stack so you can stay fully geared and do herb runs.
Oh my god.
And then just have like 2 inventory spots for day ult.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it's the
see,
juice.
see me at the day out, my guys, for the
Yeah, I'll
next
be there
5
too.
years.
There's like nobody else there. I haven't seen a single soul there. I think that honestly, I think that shit's gonna get buffed. I think Jagex is not gonna be happy that nobody does it.
I don't think anyone does it.
No,
I
nobody
feel,
does.
yeah, yeah, because if you, this rambling on too long, I need to go 10 minutes, but or like 2, whatever. But I feel like the way people got 77 rune crafting anyway was that they were doing all the PVM stuff, which would give them essence anyway, and they just did it at ZMI anyway, and they did all the quests, which gave them experience anyway. So like, what gap were they filling from getting people to 77? Like what, 70 to 77? Like people like, and it's behind a quest which is actually pretty high rec if you think about it.
It is.
So what's the point?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they gotta love it.
Everybody's done Zora like before they want high rune crafting, right?
I think everyone does Zora before they even do think about doing the quest for TOB in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
or even do like, I don't know, or even
Great.
do like barrows. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you run.
Oh man, yeah,
Thanks
very
for
good
yeah,
very good conversation. Yeah, and we'll do this again in 6 months for sure.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
guys, subscribe to Duke. Very, very insightful rambles. Hopefully, he does a lot more in the future. My ramble will be next year, but I guess this is like a bonus point 0.5 episode for that
Yeah.
to go through. And yeah,
Yeah, I'll include. I assume most of people who will be listening to this will already be subscribed to Vatti's channel. It's quite a bit larger than mine, but I'll link all of his shit, his Twitter, his YouTube, I guess in the description of this one. So
appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Appreciate that.
thanks for listening, everybody.